Welcome to the T.H.R.I.V.E podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church.
How does your faith kind of play into it, or does it play into it?
What can be done about it? When I say the church, I'm talking about evangelical white Christians and the black folk who attend their churches.
Hello, welcome to the T.H.R.I.V.E podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh. As we begin our fourth year of the T.H.R.I.V.E podcast, we thank you for taking the time to either view this on YouTube or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Prime. I'm very happy to welcome today Mr. J.K. who has started his own sports entrepreneurship, J.K. Lee Sports. Mr. Lee, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share with us today.
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, before we talk about what you really want to talk about, which is J.K. Lee Sports, I understand that you are an avid Dallas Cowboys fan. So help me, please, by sharing with me your expertise as to what happened Sunday night between the Cowboys and who is it who beat us?
Who beat us, man? I ain't even looked at the game. Oh, the 49ers.
49ers. What happened between the Cowboys and the 49ers? Why is it that we wait till the fourth quarter to start playing football?
Well, first of all, that's Mike McCarthy. Like he everything we do is reactive. Like, we never plan going into the game on what works. So that's the reason why the teams that aren't very good, we can blow them out on talent. But the teams that are decent with winning records, we struggle with them because everything that we do is based on adjustments. We wait till the second half to change stuff around. Everything we prepare to do, it never works in the first half against good teams. Mm-hmm. And it's Mike McCarthy. They need to fire him.
Okay. He was just hired 2 years ago, right?
Fire him.
Okay. If we fire him, which direction would you like to see the team go?
I'm a real big fan of Bellamy at Kansas City.
Okay.
The offensive coordinator. Huge fan of him.
That would make my wife happy. She's a Kansas City fan. Well, I don't know if it'd make her happy or not because she'd be losing her offensive coordinator. But I don't think that the young man who's there, Kellen Moore, is ready to step into head coach shoes.
I can't even believe that's even an option.
Yeah.
Because he's not doing a great job with the offense right now. We're not balanced on offense.
Well, you can't run the ball.
Can't run the ball at all.
And
two great running backs. Our offensive line is supposed to be good.
As a guy who has been watching Dallas Cowboys football since I was 6 years old, this has got to be one of the worst running attacks that I have ever seen. And it all starts with the guys up front. They can't stay healthy. When they are healthy, they have off-the-field issues that keep them out of the game. Lael Collins, I'm talking straight at you. And I just don't believe that Ezekiel Elliott is the answer. I think you need to give the ball more to Tony Pollard than you do to Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, I think the knock on Tony Pollard is Zeke can pass block. Mm-hmm. Tony Pollard want to come out the backfield and catch passes. He isn't not really real big, and so that limits his snaps. But I hadn't given up on Zeke yet, man. I'm a Zeke fan. I think if we could get some kind of continuity on the offensive line, Zeke will still it's still 1,000-yard a year running back. I do believe that.
17 games in a year, you ought to be a 1,000-yard rusher. That's not the standard anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
The standard of 1,000 yards was when there was a 12-game season, but it hadn't been a 12-game season for a long time.
Especially when you had the Tennessee running back rushing for 2,000 and everything.
Yeah. They're making that boy get up off of his sick bed to play Sunday.
Yeah.
You gonna run the ball? You gonna run the ball for us? Yeah. So, all right, that's enough lamenting about my team. Tell me about J.K. Lee Sports. Give me the quick synopsis, the background, the history of J.K. Lee Sports. How did you get started with?
Well, I got started. I tell you about it all the time. But I got started. A good friend of mine, Precious Collins. She called me and she was like, "Look, you be at all the high school games. you know, the kids love seeing you that you can do this. You need to take it serious. You need to be a sports media guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is that? So she started giving me examples. She gave me the name, made a few shirts for me, and I just started showing up at the games and, you know, created a Twitter page, started with my cell phone, just video with my phone.
Okay.
The kids' highlights, add a little music to it, posted on Twitter and Instagram. The kids started going crazy for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my following started going up. And then Terrence calls me and says, "Hey, I got something for you."
Okay.
And then when that happened, it kind of took off.
He's talking about Terrence Turner, head of Mad Game Entertainment,
Yeah.
and the audio-video minister for Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, in case you didn't know who he was talking about.
Yep. That's on top. The man, the boss. But yeah, he gave me the opportunity to have a TV segment on one of his TV shows. Shout out to Hustle, on one of Hustle shows, and got great reception from it. And all I've been doing is just interviewing the local athletes, all the high school athletes. Show up to the game. Me and Alex go, we show up to the game, we interview the kids, and it was going on the TV segment then. And I came back again for the fall and did another TV segment. And then Terrence gave me the whole TV show this spring. So the TV show is airing right now on WBTR Cable Channel 19.
Okay. Now, you cover all aspects of high school sports?
Yeah.
Or do you lean heavy into one sport over another?
No, all of them.
All of them.
If a kid inbox me, a parent, a coach, they inbox me, text me, and call me and say, "Hey, man, look, we need you out here, man." Me and Alex showing up with the cameras.
Okay. So tell me what happens. A kid calls you and says, "Come out and watch me play and film me." What's the process from there?
Well, that's it. The one game, the Glen Oaks homecoming, they all got together at practice and was like, "Man, look, we all need to hit J.K. Lee up." Man, look at my phone. I get like 30, 40 different messages. "Man, please come to homecoming. Please come to homecoming, man. We want y'all to come to homecoming."
Mm-hmm.
And I have a photographer too, so he takes pictures of the kids.
Okay.
So a lot of those kids, they'll get his picture and use it as their profile picture on Instagram and Twitter, stuff like that. So they wanted all of us to come and we just go.
And when you develop all of this media data, what do you do with it? How do you publicize it? You have your own website?
Well,
I heard you mention Instagram. Do you have your own website or Facebook? How does it get out?
I have Facebook. I have a Twitter page. Actually, Twitter is real big because I have a lot of college coaches following me on Twitter.
Okay.
So, matter of fact, I just talked to a guy from Mississippi State the other day, just checking in, asked me if I knew of any kids, any talent in the area, to let him know, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Twitter is so huge, because you get those college coaches following you.
Mm-hmm.
They get their eyes on the kids down here. Now the kids get scholarship offers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basis of what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. Just give our kids in Baton Rouge the opportunity, South Louisiana, the opportunity to be seen by college coaches so they can earn scholarships. Because I'm going to tell you, ain't nothing like leaving college without student loans.
Yeah. Well.
So you get it. You have a guy that just grew up playing football, was just good at it.
Right.
All of a sudden, his video gets seen on Twitter by the right coach, and now he gets a Division I football scholarship offer. He gets to go to school, get a free education, and graduate.
Mm-hmm. Tell me your appreciation for the level of athletic ability that exists within high school athletics, just on the whole, not any particular sport. Are we superior? Are we average? Are we below average? Are we poor as a community? Where does Baton Rouge sit with regard to talent?
I think Baton Rouge has the most talent per capita, more talent per capita than any other place in the United States. Per capita. So, we know Houston has a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Miami has a lot of kids.
Right.
But you take our best team from Baton Rouge and we go play the best team in Houston or the best team in Miami, we win those games. I mean, if we talk in South Louisiana, Joe McKnight and John Curtis went up there and beat down Hoover, who's the number one ranked team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They went up there, they were right from New Orleans, went up there and beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So I like for our kids in our area to definitely get noticed for what they're doing. That's my goal, man.
You're talking primarily football or
any sport.
Any sport.
Yeah, we actually have a select baseball team that the Sluggers. We were the only all-black select baseball team on the 2D circuit.
Okay, help me understand. What is the 2D circuit?
2D is actually it's like a travel baseball organization.
Okay.
They host tournaments all over the country, and they have showcases and stuff like that. And actually, one of the guys who founded 2D is the coach at Live Oak. And somebody brought an idea to me maybe last March. It was like, man, we got to get black kids playing baseball again. Mm-hmm. So, how can you use what you're doing to get black kids back interested in baseball? Mm-hmm. I said, boom, man, let's have a team. So I went out there and I found the best black baseball players in the area and put them all on the same team. Okay. And we went and played in different tournaments, Okay. Great experience, man. I mean, hey, and look, we took our lumps. But the other day, one of our best players just got a scholarship offer, Chandler Guillory. So that was real big for us. Sure. I know it's good for him.
Sure.
That was real big for our organization too, though, because it lets us know that people are seeing what we're doing.
Baseball, as far as professional sports is concerned, to my way of thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably the most lucrative of the team sports because they don't have a cap limit, and the longevity of the players is much greater than it is for football or basketball. Am I correct in that?
Oh, you're correct.
Okay, so if that's the case, and I know that historically, the Jackie Robinsons, the Roy Campanellas, the Hank Aarons, the Willie Mazes, that was a different generation. That was my father's generation of baseball. But we gave up on baseball, or as a whole, we fell away from baseball. That's not correct?
No, it's not. It's not a situation where black kids fell away from baseball, stopped being interested. They got priced out of it.
Okay.
So, like I was just explaining to you, with travel baseball, which is what we do, it's a multi-billion-dollar entity. Like no other sport makes more money during off season than travel baseball, and people that's watching this can attest to that. You have kids and parents spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 to play on teams, plus hotels. It's definitely a monetary investment, and let's just be real. A lot of the black kids in the city, they can't afford that. So that's another reason why we did this. Like, we kept everything affordable. We didn't go out and charge the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to get. We just didn't do that like the other organizations do. We want to make it affordable so black kids can play. Like, the only black kids that really play travel baseball are the ones that can afford it. So it wasn't. People always say, "Well, black kids not interested in baseball." It's not true. You'd be surprised how many kids right now first sport was baseball.
It's baseball.
They grew up playing t-ball. Okay. Coach threw them in the back of the truck. My dad threw them in the back. And we went to practice. But it just they had organizations like RBI was a national organization that didn't charge to keep black kids playing baseball, but then they kind of fell apart. So I mean, we go to these travel baseball tournaments, man. They charge $1,500, $1,600 a team
to enter into these competitions.
Yes. So
travel baseball is the baseball equivalent of AAU basketball?
That's exactly what it is.
Is that correct?
That's exactly what it is.
So from what I can gather, you have no trouble getting kids to play AAU basketball.
None.
But there's a greater difficulty in getting them to play baseball? Is that the case?
Well, when you have the shoe companies just paying for everything, so a lot of I like to call organization names, but some of them have these shoe companies backing them, and kids like to pay nothing.
Okay.
So you go from in travel baseball, it's a different environment. For the most part, everybody pays to play travel baseball. AAU basketball is totally different. For the most part, nobody pays. If you can make an elite basketball organization, nobody pays. If you make an elite basketball organization that has a shoe company backing them, you ain't got to pay nothing, man. Come play. You know, and that's the difference. So, you know, if you have a parent sitting there and they like, look, my kid good in baseball, but he good in basketball. I ain't got to pay nothing that he could go play. Or I got to pay $5,000 he can go play. He going to go play for free. He going to go play the sport that he can play for free.
Sure.
And that's just what it all boils down to.
Is there a minimum academic requirement in order to play in these sports, the travel baseball or the AAU basketball? You're talking to me like I'm a complete novice. I don't know anything about it, so you have to educate me. I know that in school you have to have a minimum GPA.
School you do.
But when it comes to these activities, these groups, you don't have to have that.
No, and academics, when you start talking AAU and travel baseball, it's crazy how they have it set up because let's say you have a 15U team, a 15 under, so everybody on the team is 15 and under.
Okay.
But let's say you have a kid that's in 10th grade, but he's 16.
Okay.
He can play down with the 15-year-old because he gets a grade exception. He gets a grade exception. So you'll walk up at these 12 and under AAU basketball tournaments, and you'll see a guy out there dunking and everything. He 13 and a half years old, but because he's in seventh grade, he playing with the seventh graders.
So this is a wink and a nod type thing.
and everybody knows it. That's just the rule, and it don't make no sense to me.
Who's the governing body over
AAU?
Okay.
And
so you're talking basketball when you say that.
AAU.
Okay, but when it comes to the travel baseball,
same way. I mean,
same thing.
When you fill out your information, because how it is when you register your team, you can put their graduating year in, so you can put their age and their graduation year. So let's say a kid is a 2024 graduate. Even though he may not be, how old are them kids? 15. Even though he may be 16 years old, he can still play with the 2024s, which are 15-year-olds. So
okay.
We saw that this summer.
So if you're a coach of a team and you see this on an opposing team, can you lodge a complaint about it, or do you just have to accept it?
I mean, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. When we go into those situations, travel baseball, and winning isn't that how my pride. Of course, we want to win. We want to be competitive, but I'm out there so we can get footage, so we can get these kids in by college coaches.
Okay.
So for me, like we showed up to a tournament this summer, and it was an 18 and under tournament, and this team was full of JUCO guys. We talking 19, you know what I'm saying? And our parents complained, but I didn't really, I just didn't really bother me that much. But yeah, I've seen it get real sticky between coaches because they know they playing a kid that's a grade exception. But then with every rule, somebody gonna bend the rules. So sometimes the boys don't even be technically grade; they just be the wrong age. So it's just when you start talking about the off-season sports. Mm-hmm. It gets track is the same way. We were at an indoor.
Hadn't even thought about track.
We were at an indoor summer track meet.
Uh-huh.
And AAU found out that those girls was running down. They had to escort them out the field house and ban them. So it's just like I say, off-season sports, man. It's just wide open.
How much money is there in this for these programs and
for the organizations?
Yes.
It depends.
Because usually when something like this is going on the way you're describing it, there's money involved somewhere.
It's a lot of money involved in it. Now, like I said, you have the organization that's out there. They out there for the right reason. You got the ones that's out there that's not for the right reason. Mm-hmm. That's why as parents, you always have to make the best decision for your child. Mm-hmm. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to make the best decision for your child. Mm-hmm. You can't go play with this team because that's a team you know. You have to do your homework and figure out if this is an organization where your child can flourish. Because you may be in a situation where you go out and you go pay all this money to go play for a certain organization. And I'm going to give baseball an example. You pay all this money to go play with a big organization, and all your kid does is run bases the whole summer. When he could go play on another organization that may be a little smaller and actually get some at-bats, get some reps on the mound, get some reps at shortstop if your kid is a shortstop. You know, I watch parents a lot of times go run and go play for big organizations, and they child run bases off. That's all they do. Just come in and pinch run bases and play outfield. You know, how did your child get better? What did you know what I'm saying? So as parents have to always make the best decision to put their children in the best possible situations.
Okay, we've talked baseball, we've talked basketball. Is there an amateur, not high school football program out there as well? I mean, I know there is for smaller kids. When my son was very small, he played for the Breck Leagues and stuff like that.
Right.
But is there an equivalent of AAU basketball and travel baseball in football?
I'm glad you brought it up. 707. And we actually just started our J.K. Lee Sports, just started a 707 organization. We have kids from the surrounding areas, a lot of kids that felt like they got looked over. So they just want an opportunity. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to give them an opportunity. You know, that was another situation last year on Twitter. In the middle of the 707 season, I get an inbox from parents saying, you need to do something. Like, my kid want to play 707. They don't have nowhere for them to play. And they wore on me for a year. And I actually asked Terrence his opinion about it. And we went on and put it together. We actually just had trials the other day. And we looking forward to it, man.
So when you play 7-on-7 as opposed to a traditional 11 man game, do the rules change?
Yeah, it's more like two-hand touch, no linemen.
Okay.
All skill guys.
Like flag football?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, all right. And how long is the season for something like that?
Well, it's actually up to the organization. I mean, you have certain organizations that's going to play in 8 tournaments. You know, you have some. It's up to, you know, whatever decision the organization makes. Basically,
Okay.
it's not anything governing it. It's whatever you want to do. If you want a schedule with 5 tournaments on there, if you want a schedule where you're traveling a lot or you're not traveling as much, you could do all of that. You know, it's.
So let's go back to what you were talking about with regard to shoe companies and shoe contracts. How exactly does that work? Let's limit it to one sport. Let's talk about AAU basketball. How does a shoe company get involved in sponsoring teams or things like that? Or do shoe companies sponsor teams?
Yeah, they sponsor them.
Okay. How much money goes into something like that?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, get me on camera saying that. I love all of the shoe companies. I'll take any meetings with you guys if y'all want to sit out and talk. But it's definitely a situation where, you know, we have a few local teams around here that have shoe sponsorships, and they some of the best ones in the country. And they go out, they compete well. Coach Jeff over at Madison Prep runs Louisiana Elite, and they're with Under Armour, and that's one of the best organizations in the country.
Okay.
Like, they go compete at a very high level, you know, and they get the best kids around here. Shout out to Coach Jeff, that's my guy. A good guy, great guy. He does Louisiana Elite, and, you know, they have Under Armour, and they be sharp. Like, they look good. And actually, Madison Prep wears Under Armour too. So, but yeah, that, you know, the shoe company step in, and they sponsor everything. If they think you have a good enough product to wear their apparel, you get the sponsorship.
Okay.
You know, now of course, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's a summary of it. And they go to these big old tournaments, man. And college coaches, it's all kind of people there, you know, just to see these kids play sports.
In the recent college football playoff, you had Cincinnati playing against the big boys, playing against.
Yeah, who they play? Who they play? Georgia.
They played Alabama.
Yeah.
And you know, from my vantage point, Alabama just didn't want to show a whole lot, so they just ran the ball down Cincinnati's throat. What's your opinion about I know your expertise is in high school athletics, but what's your opinion about this Division I versus Division II and the Big Five conferences versus the other conferences? Not just in football, although football is my personal favorite, but just across the board. What's your opinion?
I've been back and forth about they call it the money games. Mm-hmm. I've been back and forth about the money games. At one time, I hated it. At one time, I understood its necessary evil. And now I'm back on the other side again. I don't like it, though. Because I listened to Dion, Coach Prime, the other day, and he made some valid points. If the HBCUs would just play each other, they could generate enough money to not have to go take the money games and, the big payouts to go compete against Georgia. Like, Southern play LSU this fall. Now, that's going to be great for the city.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
We got to be positive, man.
I remember, I guess it's been 15, maybe even 20 years ago. My son was small. Southern played Tulane a couple of years.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Tulane didn't just beat Southern. They beat Southern up to the point that they were midway in the season before they got some of their starting players back. And I just don't see where it's to anyone's advantage to have these kids beat up so that the school can make a couple of dollars.
Well, it's more than a couple now.
Okay, a couple $100,000. Still.
They getting in the millions now with money games.
Well, I don't know if HBCUs get millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You see them play against these top 5 conference teams. What was the young man's name? Gales? And his life was totally altered from playing against Georgia. Now, Georgia was compassionate and did some things on his behalf, but I just don't see the advantage to doing something like that.
My thing about it is I've said this a few times, if Southern's going to take the money game, they need to take the SEC money game. I never liked Southern taking money games with ULL, Tulane, Louisiana Tech. I never liked that idea because you recruit against them. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you have a kid from Baton Rouge and Tech and Southern are his top 2 choices, and Southern goes and takes a money game and go up there and get killed, you just lost that recruit. Mm-hmm. So I was like, at least if you're going to go play a money game, you're going to go play Georgia, LSU. You're not recruiting again. You're not going to get those guys. At the time, you want to get those guys. So at least, you take a money game against Tulane, and not only because Georgia pulled the dogs off early, undoubtedly LSU going to pull it, going to take it easy. When you play those teams like ULL and Tulane, they're gonna try to hang 90 on you because they know that they recruiting against you. They're gonna try to hang 90 on you. So I never liked Southern playing those games. Never liked it. I never liked Grambling doing it. If y'all gonna play LSU. So they finally doing it now. But I never liked that. I always felt like not only were they gonna flex their muscles on you, you're gonna lose recruits that day too. Because now Tulane can pick the phone up and say, Southern, your second choice, we just scored 70 on them. What,
Yeah.
You serious? So that's my take on it.
You mentioned Dion Sanders, head coach of Jackson State University. Dion has been instrumental in bringing notoriety and a spotlight back to HBCU football. And I'm from a generation, I was small, but I'm from a generation where the best black athletes had to play at HBCUs because they didn't have the opportunity to play anywhere else. Doors opened up, and the superior black athletes went to these majority white schools, PWI, and they have thrived. Some of them have thrived there. Some of them have been eaten alive there, not just in football, but in basketball and other sports as well. Do you think that what Coach Prime has done will start a wave where people start returning back to HBCUs? Perhaps not in the same way that they did 50 years ago, but start returning back to HBCUs.
It's already started. Southern University picked up a commitment the other day from Dante Starks. Dante Starks one of the best high school football players I saw in Louisiana a couple of years ago. 4-star recruit coming out of high school, went to LSU, didn't work out, went to JUCO for a year, and now he coming to Southern. He's going to make an immediate impact. Without Coach Prime doing what he's doing at Jackson State, I guarantee you Starks never looks at Southern. I guarantee you. It never crosses his mind. But now you got these kids saying, well, you know, what Prime has, they're seeing what Prime is doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you turn on ESPN, it's an HBCU segment now. Mm-hmm. That has never been like that. So now, do I have to really go to a PWI to get this exposure now?
Well, why do you think it took Dion doing that? Why didn't a guy like Tony Dungy, who has a Super Bowl ring under his belt, had great success in the pro ranks, doesn't need the money because HBCUs can't pay on the same level that these other schools can pay. Why would not a guy like Tony Dungy have done what Deion Sanders did?
Wasn't provide the opportunity.
Did he seek it? Because I guarantee you, if he had sought it, he would have gotten it. Herm Edwards, went from being a bad coach at one pro team to being a bad coach at another pro team, and now he's being a bad coach at a PWI. Yeah. But if Herm Edwards had said to Howard or FAMU or TSU or Southern, I'd be interested in coaching at your school. You don't think Herm Edwards would have gotten an audience with those schools? This is
my thing about HBCUs, especially the SWAC schools. We had gotten into a bad mode of recycling other HBCU coaches. Mm-hmm. You know, every coach that was getting hired.
White folk do the same thing. Huh? White folk do the same thing.
Yeah,
they're doing the same thing.
But the thing about it is if you, as a school, if you don't call Tony Dungy, I don't expect Coach Dungy to reach out to them. I expect Southern University, I expect TSU to pick up the phone and call them.
Tony Dungy writes this huge book about how he cares about kids and athletes and putting quality of life issues to the forefront and having them play out on the athletic field. You know, the whole nine yards. Okay, you don't need any money. You've got plenty of money. So why don't you devote some time doing this to help some other kids along the way? Tony Dungy is a big Christian. He loves to talk about the Lord and talk about Jesus. Why doesn't he put some of that to work by giving himself to an HBCU for 3 years or 4 years? You don't have to make a lifetime commitment out of it. Why would, and I'm calling his name, but he's not the only one. There are a whole bunch of them out there who could have done that. Why would they not take the same? Why did it take Dion doing it before it was done?
I mean, but
it's my question.
Okay, but this is my thing, though.
Jerry Rice didn't do it.
But Jerry Rice not gonna do it. You can let that go. He not gonna do it. But I don't know with Prime. I think everything aligned the right way. The president at Jackson State is a forward-thinking guy, younger guy. You know, he went out. Prime was looking to climb up in coaching. All the stars in line. I'd rather Prime over Herman or Tony Dungy than them old dudes. No disrespect, but them old dudes, man. Like, Prime got young swag.
That's not my question. My question is, you're right. Prime is younger and probably appeals more to this generation of athletes. But there was a time when Tony Dungy could have done it.
He could have.
Tony Dungy stepped out of the pro ranks and stepped into a broadcast booth where he sits there with his arms folded like this and says the same thing for 3 minutes.
He does.
And then they move on to somebody else.
He does.
He could have taken his influence. Just saying Tony Dungy is coming to NC State would have made all the difference in the world. You don't think that that's the case? I'm making an argument. You don't think that?
Look, this is my thing. I don't expect anyone to violate. I don't expect Tony Dungy to do that. Tony Dungy wasn't even coaching. He got out of coaching. Now, Herm Edwards, I can get your point on Herm Edwards. But Tony didn't want to coach no more. So why would he come back and coach if he got out of coaching because he didn't want to coach? He didn't want to coach.
Okay. You just mentioned Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy has been looked over as far
It's starting to get irritating.
As far as a pro coach is concerned, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Why not go to an HBCU?
Oh, he ain't going.
Where you can be a
down.
head coach.
He ain't going down.
Why not?
I don't know.
You say this with such such certainty. Give me a reason why.
I'm gonna tell you like
why,
this.
Why would they not do that?
I'm gonna say this.
We shall overcome. Martin Luther King Day. Let's do all of that. But why would they not put their money where their mouth is and actually devote themselves to 3 or 5 years of coaching African American schools?
I think for Coach Eric to end up at an HBCU, he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere else. It's going to go terrible. Like, it's going to be a terrible 2.5 years. He gets 5 mid-season of his 3rd season. Then he'd humble himself enough. Not to say he's an arrogant guy, but
he just said he's an arrogant guy. He said he'd have to humble himself. So you're suggesting that he's an arrogant guy?
No, I'm just
Stump
saying.
Mitchell came here.
Yeah, but Stump was a terrible coach.
Doug Williams came here.
Doug Williams had never been a head coach. Doug Williams had never been a head coach when he got to Grambling.
Prime had never been a head coach either.
Prime was high school head coach. Man, I get what you're saying.
There are enough top-tier athletes who have succeeded on the highest levels possible, who are African American, who don't look back at African American schools and say that I'm going to devote some of my time, talent, and energy to developing those schools.
I agree.
You said Jerry Rice.
Oh, Jerry Rice not gonna do it.
Jerry Rice came out of Mississippi Valley. I watched Jerry Rice beat up on Southern when I was a child. Yeah. Why would not Jerry Rice do it? In fact, there was a time when the best black athletes in football came out of HBCUs. You know.
He ain't gonna. I don't even know. Somebody gonna have to correct me. I don't even know if Jerry Rice even goes to Mississippi Valley games at all. I know he did his coming home celebration a few years ago on TV, and guess what the location was? San Francisco. He ain't doing it, Mississippi. He ain't doing it, Mississippi.
So it sounds like you're saying something without saying what you're saying, and I'm trying hard.
You trying to get me to say
I'm
it,
working
man.
hard trying to get you to say.
Why you trying to get me to say this?
Because you're in the seat, and you give me the opportunity to ask the question. And so I'm asking the question, why, in your opinion, would not these guys, who many of them owe their career to HBCUs, why would they not give back in that way? Prime didn't go to an HBCU.
Nope.
He went to what? Florida State?
Florida State.
Yeah. Okay. So he didn't go to an HBCU, but he's giving back to an HBCU.
Hold up. Now let's be honest. Let's keep it real about Prime. If Prime had any other coaching opportunity at PWI,
somebody told me that he was offered a position at TCU. Or TCU was looking at him, and he said, "No, I'm gonna stay where I am."
Well, he gonna coach his sons now, so he gonna be there till Shamar graduate. So he ain't going nowhere. Now after that, he'll get a PWI job and he gonna throw deuces to HBCUs. But let's all keep it real. Like, don't act like Prime. If Prime would have had any other head coaching offer before Jackson State, there was a PWI at a bigger school, he would have took it. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
But he sits in the seat now. And he's doing a great job.
He's doing a great job.
And I'm asking, why is that not being replicated by other guys?
Why you trying to make me do it?
I'm just asking a question.
Okay, you talk about a guy.
And I'm not trying to make you say something. It sounds like you want to say something, and you hold yourself back from what it is that you're trying to say.
Okay.
If we were in a pulpit and you were preaching, you know what I say right about now? Make it plain, preacher. Make it plain.
Okay.
Because right now you ain't making it plain.
Okay. Let me say this. Certain guys, you know, we talked about Jerry Rice and guys like that. They don't see value in HBCUs.
Why not?
I just
Came out
I'm
of
gonna go a little further.
Came out of an HBCU.
I know, but I'm gonna go a little further and say that, you know, shoe on the other foot. If I don't know if Jerry's a proud HBCU guy. He just doesn't strike me as a guy that's, you know.
Well, I wouldn't know because I've never met the man.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just from what he does on TV. I ain't never met the dude either, but I'm just saying he doesn't seem like a guy that's real proud of. Man, I could be wrong. That's just what I take from it. You know, I take from it. You got a guy like Tony Dungy with no HBCU background. I couldn't see him waging his career on going to HBCU because he has no connection to it. He has no dog in the fight. That's why I'm saying you kept saying that.
He does have a dog in the fight. He has African American men and women.
Him.
He has African American parents. He has African American children. They are dogs in the fight.
To him.
Do you have to have a direct connection before you show any interest at all
do me and you
in
know
the next generation of people? Really?
Those guys? A guy like Tony, like I said, a guy like Tony Dungy that probably has never been to a black college football game. You know, you have to know a guy like him, his background, man. Like and you would think because he was like the first black quarterback to break a record because he went to Washington, right?
That's Doug Williams.
No, but Tony Dungy. Did Tony Dungy play at Washington? Where did he play?
He played for I want to say Chicago.
I'm talking about in college.
I don't know where he played his college ball.
I know he played. I think he played because I think him and one of the other coaches played against each other.
But Doug came back to his alma mater.
Yeah, well, he had a dog. Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, I mean, you say of course. Jerry Rice has an alma mater too.
Everybody ain't built the same though, man. Everybody ain't built the same. And I love Jerry Rice as a player, but he ain't coming. He's never coached.
Doug had never coached till he coached.
Doug wanted to coach, though. Doug wanted to coach.
Are you suggesting? Let me go from asking open-ended essay questions to asking to asking true-false questions. Is it possible? Yes, no questions. Is it possible that these superior black athletes have been jaded by the white world that they entered into and the white mates that they have, both personal and interpersonal, and have decided that they don't need to, that they have reached a place where they don't need to look back and reach back and help other African Americans who have not yet achieved that level of celebrity?
I'm going to say this.
That was a good question.
Yeah, I'm going to say this.
That was a real good question.
I think, I'm not going to, yes, I agree. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
But, at least I got a yes out of it. Thank you.
But I think with a guy like I say, like a Tony Dungy, he's definitely going to make it seem like he cares about it more. You know what I mean? He's gonna write a book and do that type of stuff.
He has written a book.
Exactly, and he's gonna talk about it on camera. But is he actually going to stop what he's doing and come coach ABC? No.
Okay.
And I like Tony. Why you making it seem like I don't like Coach Dungy, man?
I'm sticking with football because football is my favorite sport.
Right. I got you.
But the same thing could be said about the other sports. Same thing could be said about basketball. Same thing could be said about baseball. I would imagine baseball was the one I know the least about.
Right.
But I just have trouble with the fact that what Deion Sanders is doing is not being replicated immediately. I mean, I know it's just been 1 year, but and maybe there will be some replication that comes down the line. But right now, I don't see other guys coming up saying, if you have an opening, I'm willing to step in to do this.
You're right. I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Why do black folk like Nick Saban more than they like anybody at LSU?
I don't know what the Nick Saban craze is. I don't even you know what it is? You know what it is? It's not the fact that they love Nick Saban. They just hate LSU. That's what black people know. Black people in Baton Rouge. I'm gonna go a little further. A lot of the people. It's funny when you see a Southern University fan saying that they rooting for Alabama because they like Nick Saban, and like I see that. I know you hate LSU. You know what I'm saying? You can't stand LSU. So just say that. Like, don't come to me and say you a fan of Nick Saban because you wasn't a fan of him when he was at LSU. But now all of a sudden, and Nick Saban a hell of a coach. But as a person,
no question.
As a person, I prefer Les Miles and Orgeron as people. I've met them before. Mm-hmm. Good people. Mm-hmm. Like Nick Saban is arrogant.
Yeah, I have no problem believing that. But you were talking about, well, now there's this portal thing that goes on, and athletes have greater opportunity to leave schools without suffering too much damage from doing so. But when Saban was at LSU, Saban was one of the ones who closed the door to LSU athletes being able to come across town and play. He the one. Play for Southern.
He came up with the we don't transfer in state.
When DiNardo was the head coach at LSU, and a kid was recruited, and he wasn't getting what he thought was adequate playing time, he could go across town. What was the kid's name? Pernell Sharp, running back.
Sharp.
He left LSU and became a huge running back at Southern. When Saban became head coach at Southern, that door was slammed shut.
He came up with the don't transfer in-state rule. He came up with the don't transfer in-state. So it wasn't a Southern thing. It was a everybody in the state thing.
Well, I didn't think it was a Southern thing, but I thought it was just that we recruited you, we got you, you ain't going nowhere.
He came up with the don't transfer in-state. Well, matter of fact, his was a little stricter. He didn't transferring wasn't an option. Then Les came in and was like, don't transfer in-state. And then toward the end of Les tenure, he started to let him transfer, you know. But when Les got there, he was like, what? No transfer in-state? What you mean? Like Nick had all that ironed out. And but now you're starting to see, you know, everything open back up again as far as LSU guys coming to Southern. I just told you about Dante Stark, you know.
Yeah.
So you starting to see it open back up again.
But that's because the NCAA has changed. And the portal has changed a whole lot of that.
It's a free fall now, man.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that say they had 1,480 student athletes in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
They say 80% of them not going to ever leave.
Not going to ever leave the portal?
Not going to stay in the portal. They'll never play again.
They'll never play. Okay. The kid who played quarterback for LSU this year, Brad Johnson.
Max.
Max Johnson. Mm-hmm. He ended up going to Texas.
Yeah, he went somewhere. Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. So he went from one SEC school, one SEC West school, to another SEC West school. And there are no rules that bar against that anymore. All right, let's talk about one other thing. Let's talk about this NIL thing, name, image, likeness. There's this 19-year-old kid who is a gymnast at LSU, Olivia somebody, who has made multiple millions of dollars off of this NIL thing, and she made the cover of Baton Rouge Business Report, and they talked about what a wonderful thing it was for them. Has the attitude about that changed a lot in recent years, when it has become something that white folk could take advantage of, as opposed to the attitude they had about that when it was primarily black athletes who were being approached for that? Because I guarantee you, no black athlete would have been on the cover of Baton Rouge Business Report under similar circumstances. That's not for you to say yes or no to. That's my humble opinion. How you doing, Rolf? Good to see you. But now that it has become something that white kids can take advantage of and make money off of, there seems to be a different attitude about it now than existed before. Am I correct in that assessment or not?
No, the color had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
the heat of the NIL came down because the athletes, and I think it might have been California or somewhere, athletes started to realize that they could get money, and it kept coming. The NCAA still don't like the NIL. You know, and then to me, the NIL still, I love the NIL, and I'm glad these young, because they deserve it. They deserve to get paid for what they're doing. That's how I feel. But to me, I still think it needs to be, something else needs to be done. These schools need to be paying these athletes. Like, that's just how I feel. Like, they need to chip in and pay them. They making the money, but the NIL stepped in. The NIL agreement stepped in and stopped schools from having to come up with contracts. They were like, screw it, we're just going to let them make money off themselves. And they stepped in and did that. But we're going to get sometime in the next 10 years, universities going to start having to issue out some money too. This ain't, the NIL is just the beginning. I looked the other day, LeBron James' son NIL contract is estimated, when he graduates, is estimated to be $6.1 million. $6.1 million. Yeah. That boy, he do 16 years old, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to come a time where this school's going to start paying. But to answer your question, no, I don't think it had anything to do with race. I think this is the only color matter right now is green. And that's just what's most important. I mean, because right now I think the quarterback at Alabama and the quarterback at Ohio State, two black guys, they got the second and third NIL deals in the country.
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm a little bit older than you. I remember a time when the idea of African American athletes being able to monetize their value while still in college was seen as a negative.
Oh, I do.
In fact, certain rules were put into place to make sure that you couldn't monetize your value until you had given so much time to the institution. Usually it had to do with football, had to do with basketball. Baseball, they didn't seem to have the same problem. You could sign a minor league contract in baseball. Josh Booty did that.
A whole lot
went and played minor league baseball.
Then came and played quarterback.
Flopped, failed. How you doing, Mr. Booty? Went and failed at minor league baseball and came back and went from being a professional in one sport to being an amateur in another so that he could play football because they thought that he was going to be LSU's salvation on the football team. That didn't work out either, did it? But I'm just curious.
Hey, Mr. Booty, I'm a fan of Josh Booty.
Has there been an attitudinal shift over the years, and you don't think that race has anything to do with that?
Well, you remember the O'Bannon brothers started that, the UCLA brothers, and that's the reason why they stopped making the NCAA college video games. Yeah, because I
used to play them all the time. Yeah.
And like that, you know, that kind of that. So that's what I'm saying. This NIL thing has been 20 years in the making. Oh. So I don't think, that in my opinion, I don't think it had anything to do with it. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, because at the end of the day, the gymnast that you was talking about, she's still gonna be able to make as much money as Stroud and Bryce will. You know, I mean, now she's gonna be able to get some. How much they say? How many million?
16, I believe it was. That she made, and I could be wrong on that, but
that sounds like a lot.
It is a lot for a 19-year-old kid who ain't accomplished nothing.
I think
to have that kind of opportunity. And I don't begrudge anybody the opportunities that are given to them. I'm just saying, let's be fair about it.
It's a free fall now, though.
And somehow or other, rules. You know, when Tiger Woods was winning the Masters by 20 strokes, they changed the whole dynamic of the golf course. They moved pins around, moved holes around to make it harder
for him.
For Tiger Woods. Everybody else had to suffer because Tiger Woods
he was too good.
Was too good for everybody else. The course was fine when it was Phil Mickelson who was doing it, but when it became Tiger Woods, there is something in the psyche of America that says that when African Americans succeed at something, we have to change the rules. And I'm just asking the question. You've already answered it twice. I'm gonna give you a chance to answer it again. I just see that with this NIL route. You know, minor league baseball players were primarily white.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whether blacks couldn't play, which is wrong, or didn't play, which is probably more correct, minor league baseball players were white, and it was okay to be a minor league baseball player and get paid to play baseball. Never make it to the majors. Never get to Showtime.
10, 15 years.
You know, but they could make money. But if you wanted to leave a basketball program after the first year, until the rules changed, you couldn't do it.
Well, they changed the rules,
and you
though.
were selfish for talking about doing it.
Yeah.
I listened to talk radio all day long.
Yeah.
I can't believe how selfish they are.
Look.
They've been given this wonderful opportunity to go to this top-ranked school and receive a first-class education, and I just think that it's selfish. They want to turn their backs on such a program, like such an elite program like this, in order to go out and try to make some money. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Look.
It's not American to do that.
Look how they doing the kids that's sitting out the bowl games.
Yes.
They don't want to get hurt. Talk about them like a dog.
Yes.
Talking about them like a dog because they sitting out because they don't want to get hurt playing in the meaningless bowl.
I'm asking somebody whose life is about sports. You don't see a difference in attitude, an attitudinal shift that's wrapped around race?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. And the reason why I'm saying this is
Three times, Terrence. I asked him 3 times.
The reason why I don't is because it started. The O'Bannon started this whole thing. It was black dudes.
I know who the O'Bannons are.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't think it was a color thing. I just think it's more with the. Now I do think the schools were definitely holding them dudes there to try to make as much money off of them as they can. They was holding them in college, no doubt in my mind.
If what you suggested is going to happen actually happens, you're going to see such a monumental shift in college athletics, because there are schools like LSU and Alabama and Texas A&M that have the money, where their programs are not even attached to the university.
Yeah.
Where they generate their own money. LSU makes so much money off of athletics that they give money back to the university out of their athletic program. But you also have schools out there, and not just HBCUs. You have schools out there whose athletic programs are not as successful as an LSU or an Alabama and a Texas A&M. They can't afford to pay their athletes. And so a kid who comes out who's a 5-star recruit, he's not going to just pick a team based upon the offensive philosophy of the coach. He's going to pick a team based upon how much money he can make.
Well, you said something that I want to piggyback off. You said LSU and Alabama. If we do get to that point where schools start paying, LSU and Alabama won't win no more. We got to think Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. These people have billion-dollar endowments every year. LSU don't have that kind of money, so you gonna see those schools where it's cold, where the brothers don't want to go up there because it's cold. They gonna be able to cut the biggest checks. they gonna price. That's the reason why a lot of people think that I'm wrong saying that it's gonna get to that point, because you're gonna have like Alabama, LSU, and those schools in the SEC. They don't have no money compared to them schools in the Big Ten and the Pac-12. That's the rich school. Stanford, USC, them people got money. So you'll see athletes start saying, well, man, maybe it ain't too cold for me to go to Penn State. These people going to give me $30 million. I can go play in the cold at Penn State, you know. So, I don't know, man. It's all a discussion point, so we'll see. I like the NIL, though, and I don't think it was nothing that had nothing to do with no race, but I guess we got to disagree on that one.
We will. Thoroughly disagree. But that's okay. This setting is a church podcast, so I can't end the podcast without bringing up church.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And so, no, you ain't got nothing to be sorry about.
Oh, all right. I'm about to say I'm holding it up.
No, not at all. I'm winding things up, but I didn't want to close it out without talking in some way about church. When you deal with the kids that you deal with, high school athletes, youngsters, is there a spiritual component to what's going on with these kids that is being given attention to as they start making these life decisions about what they want to do?
Yes. The majority of school, I'm trying to think if I've ever not been to a game or school and didn't see them pray. I think most of the games we go to, Alex, I think it's always, most of the time now they praying together. You know, it's always a spiritual, they praying before the locker room, scoring a touchdown. You know, it's definitely, they are definitely spiritual, a spiritual group, and it's serious. Like we were at practice, my coach was fussing at him. He said, "All right, now come on in for a prayer." You know? So it's definitely there, and I see it a lot.
Is there something that the organized church, I'm talking primarily African American church, is there something that the organized African American church can do that would serve to foster greater success for these young people than what we are currently doing? Because as I sit here and think about it, there used to be a time when churches had leagues.
Yep.
And churches sponsored these kids in these athletic competitions. I don't think too much of that goes on anymore. From your perspective, is there something that churches could do to enhance what's going on with these young people in athletics?
Well, you know, growing up, you know, we would play a lot of the church-sponsored teams. They just don't have them anymore. But you bringing it up, I never thought about it. But yeah, some sponsorship to schools, athletic programs, and something like that. You'd be surprised how many of these athletic programs are successful with not enough resources. You know, so definitely donating specifically to athletic programs from the black churches, man, that would do a lot. I mean, it could be something small like doing breast cancer awareness, making sure they had a pink wristband. You know, just very something. Oh, another one just came to mind. After the games, you know, a lot of these kids playing these games, basketball and football. I went to Southern Lab. We ate after all our games. You'd be surprised how these programs don't have money to feed the kids after the games.
Right.
So it'd be something simple as showing up and, you know, having food for them after they finish playing. You know, they definitely like that. You know, so yeah, I never even thought about that. That was a good question.
Out of the 50 I asked, I'm glad I got 2-1. that was pretty good. I'm just joking. But going forward, if there is something that we can do here at Shiloh that will help with what you're just talking about, I encourage you to reach out to me.
I sure will.
And we'll see what we can do to help.
Sure will. Okay? That'd be pretty cool, that man. Yeah.
Typically, I ask people, do you have kids yet?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I have a daughter.
As a father living in this city, do you have an aspiration? I know the choices are the children's, but do you have an aspiration for your children to remain in Baton Rouge and develop their lives and their families here?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. I'm Baton Rouge
so you think
to the bone.
Baton Rouge is a good place?
Oh yeah. I mean, we got our problems, man, but I love my city, and I definitely. She better not move nowhere.
Okay. On that note, Mr. J.K. Lee Sportz, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. I hope I didn't get you in too much trouble with some of the other folk.
You're going to tear up all my little relationships asking me all the questions.
Thank you all for viewing. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back again next time.